Hey, this is Craig. If you like this show and you want to support it and you want to keep it free, head on over to everyonelovesguitar.com/support. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/support. If you're a business owner and you want to increase your cash flow, or if you're a label or artist and you want to promote new music, then listen up. For information about advertising on Everyone Loves Guitar, including information on geographically targeted ads, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. If you want to buy or sell a home or investment property and you're here in the Tampa Bay area, in Hillsborough, Pinellas, or Pasco counties, then listen up. West Florida Real Estate is a local residential real estate broker that's helped over 250 Bay Area homeowners buy and sell their properties in the last 4 years alone. If you're looking to sell, you'll want to get their free report, The 7 Biggest Mistakes Homeowners Make When Hiring a Realtor. And if you're looking to buy a property, you definitely want to get your hands on the 21 Most Expensive Mistakes Tampa Home Buyers Make When Buying a Home. Each one of these reports is going to save you time and money. Inside, you'll discover the 7 most important things to consider when hiring a realtor, what to do if you're buying and selling a home at the same time, and the danger of choosing a realtor who agrees with everything you say. To get your hands on these free reports, head on over to westfloridarealestate.com. That's westfloridarealestate.com. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. We are with the one and only Johnny Duke. And before we move forward, I want to thank Rob Campo from Dopapod. And Rob said about Johnny, he goes, man, that guy was always the best player ever when we were kids, and he's still the best player ever. Of all the, I guess, are all the guys that went to you went to Berkeley together, maybe, I think.
Yeah, man, that's high praise coming from Rob.
He's phenomenal, man.
He's always been an inspiration for me. We used to, we went to Berkeley together, and we used to just spend hours in these little cubicle practice rooms, and just trying to trade licks and share ideas.
Yeah, that's what he was telling me. I listened to that whole catalog of Dopapod. I didn't hear that guy play the same riff once.
Oh man, he's an encyclopedia.
He's a very sharp dude, man.
Yeah.
So let me tell everybody your background. Johnny Duke was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, drawn to the music coming out of the Mississippi Delta at a young age. When visiting his father in Scobie, Mississippi, he picked up his first guitar at age 10, inspired by artists such as Hendrix and Muddy Waters. Soon after that, he began sitting in with much older musicians at various clubs and festivals. David Bromberg, a legendary musician who you've probably heard of, well-versed in a multitude of styles, took notice of Johnny's skills and became a mentor figure in Wilmington, Delaware, where Johnny went to high school. In 2006, he moved to Boston to study jazz and songwriting at Berkeley, and he graduated in 2009. His band at the time was called Johnny Duke and the Aces. They were invited to open up shows for blues legend B.B. King on a Northeast tour in 2007. We'll talk about that, man. That had to be cool.
Yeah.
2010, he moved to Nashville, began touring as a guitarist and multi-instrumentalist with the Grammy-winning country artist Little Big Town. He was playing guitar and other instruments on both platinum-selling Little Big Town records, Tornado and Painkiller. Much like David Bromberg, Johnny's developed a career of balancing the role of being a sideman and a band leader. Ashley Monroe, who's a Grammy-winning country singer, joined him for a vocal duet on the track Love Me One More Time from Johnny's debut album called Reimagine, which was released in the spring of 2016. Other artists he shared the stage with over the years include Vince Gill, B.B. King, Mary Chapin Carpenter, Ann Womack, Sheryl Crow, Miranda Lambert, Chris Isaak. Did you play with Yadovitz? Herschel. Chris Isaak's guitar player, Herschel Yadovitz.
Oh, no. It was I played with Chris Isaak at an award.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it was just so I was in the house band.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah. Chris Stapleton, big names here, man. Jerry Douglas and another big name, John Was. Johnny just performed on many late night shows such as Jimmy Fallon, Ellen, and Conan. When he's not on the road touring, he works out of his recording studio in East Nashville, which is called Spirit Radio Studio, producing his own music and music for other artists and bands, and he goes camping. As we just discovered.
I've been enjoying the camping, man. It's a new love for me.
Where'd you go?
I met up with a good friend of mine up in a place called the Garden of the Gods, which is in Harrod, Illinois.
And what's there? Why is it called the Garden of the Gods?
It's just, I don't know. I think it was just kind of maybe inspired by just the beauty of the natural world,
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a friend in St. Louis who we sort of met halfway and did some backpacking and, just sort of.
Do you sleep in a tent when you do that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I'd be scared shitless to do that, to be honest with you.
Man, it's it definitely puts you back in touch with the elements,
Yeah. What do you do if like bears come along or something like that? I mean, these are probably stupid questions, but that's going through my.
I have a Weimaraner dog who.
Right. Those are great dogs.
Those, like, his name's Django, named after Django Reinhardt. And those dogs were actually bred to hunt bears.
Oh, wow.
In Germany, so, man, I don't worry about bears with my dog Django.
Yeah. Did you have a gun? Because that would be I wouldn't worry about bears then.
No, no guns. Just.
Nothing's faster than a bullet. That's what I heard when I was a little kid growing up in the Bronx. So I said, okay. Hey, man, you were born in Knoxville. It sounds like your folks probably split up maybe, and you spent time with your dad in Mississippi and your mom in Delaware.
Yeah.
How did that musically going to both those places? I would imagine Mississippi had to be a pretty cool place to.
Oh man, it's I feel like I'm. I had a very dual upbringing of splitting time in like rural southern Mississippi, and then also like the Northeast culture was where I went to school, and so I had this really unique like dual life of going back and forth between those two worlds.
What did you like? What was the likes and dislikes about each place, or pluses and minuses, if you want to call it that?
I think I really got exposed to a lot of Delta blues music in Mississippi, which was I'm so grateful for, and I think I think I got a really good education from the Northeast culture also. Yeah.
So it seems like basically you're a blues guy early on.
I'm definitely very influenced by the blues. I wouldn't give myself like the title of a blues guy, but that music has really touched my heart, and it comes through my playing in a lot of ways,
But when you went to Berkeley, you studied jazz. Was that because that's the only thing to study there, isn't that? I mean, you can't study anything but that, pretty much.
Well, Berkeley started out as a jazz school primarily, and it really expanded into more than that. Like the songwriting department really sort of grew, and at Berkeley, I got really exposed to a multitude of styles. But yeah, definitely the jazz theory. I picked up a lot of that at Berkeley.
Had you been familiar with theory in the past, or was that your?
Man, I didn't know how to read music when I first got to Berkeley.
That's good, man.
And so it was kind of like I was terrified. So I had a lot of catching up to do when I first got up there, and
yeah, but you must have been a monster player. If you can't read music and you still got in there, you got to pass an audition.
Well, I had some things going for me. I had the
I like how you put that.
I had some things, you know, I had certain strengths, you know, that I think that like the professors uh, recognized, and but you know, Berkeley, I definitely like. Um, I think a lot of my strengths were like, you know, I really felt the music that I was playing. You know, I didn't exactly know like theoretically what how to communicate harmony, and I didn't have that knowledge coming into Berkeley, but I had the spirit, you know, and that's that goes a long way.
Yeah, man. That's very cool. So how'd you meet David Bromberg, and how did he help you? Because when someone functions as a mentor, it's not usually just a mentor in music or business. It's kind of like there's some life lessons learned. So my question is, how'd you meet him? How did he help you? And what were the top 2 or 3 things you learned, musically or otherwise?
Oh man, that it meeting David completely changed my life. I met him at a blues jam in Wilmington, Delaware, when I was, I think, either 14 or 15.
Oh, wow.
And you know, he kind of took me under his wing, and opened new doors of ways to look at music, and you know, if you look at his career, you know, he's one of the most eclectic musicians of an era. You know, he's had his feet in the bluegrass world, and the folk world, and yeah, he definitely he showed me a lot of stuff. You know, I'd go over to his house and we'd listen to records together, and he'd show me how he would show me like how Reverend Gary Davis taught him like a good guitar line.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. So I really felt like I was being, like I felt like things were being handed down.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
That's really cool. What were the top 2 or 3 things you learned from him?
Whew.
Could be musically, could be just life lessons.
You know, I think David as a person, just really treated, you know, like the way being around David and the way he would talk to strangers and other musicians, and his there's kind of like a spirit of camaraderie among musicians that I feel like I learned from David, and also just, you know, and just playing what you feel and what you really mean, and not getting, you know, playing from here as opposed to here. You know, I feel like I really got, you know, learned that from David.
And if I remember correctly, Reverend Gary Davis was a blind guitar player, right?
Yeah. So and David would he refers to it, he would be Gary Davis's like seeing eye dog. He would go, like, you know, in New York, he would go take him around to places like in exchange for guitar lessons.
Yeah.
And
that's really cool. He does a version, man, of Death Don't Have No Mercy. Have you ever heard that?
Oh yeah.
That's pretty incredible, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's like the quintessential, like, black blues acoustic player, and it's just, you know, his voice and everything about it is just perfect just perfect music, man.
Yeah, it's the truth.
So it sounds like your first big break came when you opened for BB King. How did that come about, and what did you take away from that experience?
Oh man. Well, actually, I played with BB King when I was 17 in through a different set of circumstances. He was doing a clinic in Indianola, Mississippi.
Wow. That's
And
a that's a that's a place of birth of the blues, or so. Isn't that where he's from? Wait a
that's
minute,
where
he's
he's
from
from.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah, right,
he
right.
grew up in that area, and I remember he afterwards he told me, he said, son, you play some mighty fine guitar, but you know you need to get yourself a Gibson. And I was playing one of those like reissue Keith Richards tellies
Mm-hmm.
with the humbuckers, and then fast forward 2 years later, um, I got the opportunity with my band to open up a tour for him, and by that time I had followed his advice and got a nice 335 and
A black one like his, or
no, I got a 1996 Sunburst. Yeah.
very cool.
And it was great, man. I went up on his tour bus after our show in Wilmington, actually, and he was just hanging out in the back lounge, like listening to Count Basie. He just loved listening to big band music, and I come up, like all like, nervous and on the tour bus, and I said, Mr. King, I took your advice. It'd be an honor for you to sign my Gibson. I took your advice. I got a Gibson. And he said, son, I'd never tell anybody what guitar they should play.
He said, well, I happen to have recorded this, baby.
Yeah, like, yes, sir. But yeah, I cherish that. I cherish that.
Man, I have a funny story about BB. It's kind of sort of similar. A player I interviewed, his name is Anto Drennan. He's an Irish sideman, and he's a brilliant player out of Dublin. And he has played all over the world with loads of big artists. And he met BB, and he played with BB, I think. And they were at this event. It was like a big European. Loads of European artists were there, and he's walking around, and Anto happened to play that night, and BB King walked over and he shook his hand. He goes, I just want you to know you really moved me. And he was like, oh my God. He goes, thank you so much. And then, they exchange pleasantries, and then BB goes on to the next person, and Anto's watching him, and he sees him say to the next person, hey, I just want you to know you really moved me tonight. And he was like so devastated. He was just, he was being genuine, but like,
yeah,
he's saying it to everybody. It sort of diluted the message a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's funny. How'd you wind up working with Little Big Town? Because those guys truly have like they only have the best guys on their sessions. And it's also rare that somebody, as you know, in Nashville, especially rare that someone's playing on the record then goes on tour. How did all that come about?
Oh man, it was such a blessing for me. I got called to audition for them pretty soon after I moved to Nashville in 2010. Wow,
that's a pretty good call.
Yeah, I feel like I was definitely at the right place at the right time, and yeah, there was just it was a good fit musically, yeah, I spent 4 years with them and recorded two of their records, and just it's I had a lot of amazing experiences with them.
Who else did you work with there guitar wise in that band, whether it was recording or on stage?
Oh, well, Jay Joyce. Are you familiar with Jay Joyce?
The producer, yeah, sure.
Yeah, really, like, man, one of the most creative people I've ever been around. I learned so much from just being around that guy. He produced the 2 records that I played on, and I was sharing guitar duties with my good friend Jed Hughes. So that was, we were pretty much just the gunslingers on the records.
Very cool, man. Yeah, I've had a lot of players on my show that have worked with Jay, and everybody's everybody says that they learn a lot from the guy.
Yeah, and his whole style of guitar playing is like, sometimes just the sounds that he makes and almost don't even seem like they're coming from what you're seeing his hands doing. It's
really,
he's a genius. I think he's a real creative genius.
The best producers I always hear are referred to like that. Same thing. I've had guys work with Mutt Lange, and they've all said the same thing.
Yeah, it's just this whole other level of vision. Like being able to see the whole scope of things while you're playing. It's a real gift.
What made you go to Nashville in the first place? That's a pretty big move. Did you go there like straight from Berkeley, or?
Yeah, I felt like I was being pulled by a lot of the music when I was living in Boston. I was listening to a lot of Vince Gill's music, and just I kept on hearing a lot of guitar playing coming out of Nashville that I was moved by, and I just felt like, Nashville feels like a good place for a guitar picker. There's and really that was probably, there were probably deeper levels too. I was born in Knoxville, and I'm somewhat familiar with the Tennessee culture, and so I think that played a role too. But yeah, I just wanted to play the guitar, and Nashville felt like a quintessential place to do that.
And I actually give you a lot of credit for that, because it's a smart thing to do, because at that point in time, you're young. Like, what have you got to lose?
Yeah.
And if you had an interest, why not go explore that? A lot of people wouldn't, because they'd be afraid, or I need an invitation, or, I think that was really, I give you credit for that, man.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Joseph Campbell?
I haven't studied his stuff, but I'm familiar with, on the surface, of some of the stuff that he talks about.
Yeah, man. I've really tried to live my life and by a lot of, Joseph Campbell would talk about following your bliss,
mm-hmm.
And even when you don't know like exactly where you're going, when you follow your bliss, doors will open up, and I was definitely guided by a lot of that.
Well, how'd you get turned on to him?
Oh man, actually through a good friend of mine named Dave Zobel, who's a songwriter, lives in Denver. He turned me out to I think originally it was that he did a series of interviews with Bill Moyer on PBS called The Power of Myth. And I just...
Is that on YouTube?
It just recently came out on Netflix.
Oh man, that's great. Cause I've been wanting to check him out, and cause I always, when I'm in the gym, I'm always looking for stuff to watch. That would be perfect for me. Yeah.
There's a lot going on in those interviews, and
that's great.
I definitely have felt guided by a lot of his wisdom.
That's cool, man. That's really good.
Yeah.
I think it's important that, man, and I give you a lot of credit, because you did this at a young age, that you sort of have some philosophy to guide your decision making on. Because even if it's wrong or whatever, there is really no wrong, but it's at least a frame of reference to make decisions on. that you could say, well, I believe in this, so I'm going to go with it, as opposed to, whatever, and being guided by doing something you like. God, what negative can come out of that?
Yeah. And absolutely. Yeah. Joseph Campbell's whole thing was like, look within yourself, for answers. Don't always be, looking outside on on billboards to tell you what direction to go in life, and,
Right.
And, I sort of come by it naturally. My dad's, was a really brilliant, teacher and very much a philosopher. And that sort of philosopher's, outlook on life I feel like I inherited some of that,
That's great, man. Is you still around, your dad?
I saw him not too long ago. He lives in Scobie, Mississippi still.
Still.
Yeah, he's 76 now.
Oh, good, man. That's young. See, as the older you get, that gets the number of what's young gets older, gets higher.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true, man. That's so true. It's like I used to think that like people in their 30s were old.
Right.
It's like, I feel like I'm just getting started.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's the way it works. I love Nashville. Is the culture in Knoxville, which is East Tennessee, correct?
Yeah.
Is the rest of the state similar to Nashville, or different, and in what ways?
Oh man. Well, I moved from Knoxville when I was 7. So when I tell people I'm from Knoxville, it kind of feels like I'm not the whole truth, but
yeah,
I think Nashville is a really, really stands out from other parts of Tennessee. It's especially because of the music history and yeah, Nashville is a whole nother world compared to Knoxville, but there is that, there is the thread of a cultural thread of between the two places. But it seems like Nashville there's so many people are moving to Nashville recently. There's a lot of really cool diversity happening here that I've been,
if you grew up in Mississippi, yeah, I would imagine. Right. Yeah. Cause you got one flavor of vanilla there and that's it pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. Cause a lot of people, and some people complain about it cause all the traffic is like, it's getting worse.
It's pretty bad, man.
Yeah, it's a thing, but but it's also cool cause there's like, cultural influences come, like a lot of people are moving in from LA and New York and,
right.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. I've never seen a more supportive, friendlier and supportive group of people than in I've never seen it in my life.
Oh man, that's I feel like it's that's one thing that stands out for me is like the community of musicians here and
just first class, man.
Yeah, it's really special.
It's very special. My show pretty much started there, and I cannot tell you that I wouldn't have 550 episodes later if it wasn't for the support of so many people in Nashville who just supported the show and believed in it and just believed in me. I mean, it's a real privilege to have friends there now, and it's really cool.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's speaks highly of you. I think you're doing some great work and having really interesting conversations with, outside of the, you're bringing other aspects of life into the conversation of music. Like listening to you talk with Rob was great, man. I just thought, I loved where that conversation was, all the places it went, talking about Bukowski and
he's such a great guy. He's such a nice, sweet, genuine person, man. But most musicians are, to be honest with you, I really, that's why come to every interview like excited, to be honest, because it's like I know I'm going to talk to a cool person who's nice and open and kind, and it's like, you know, it's
Yeah.
that's just the way musicians are.
Well, yeah, I think that, man, it's almost like if you, it's almost like if you're, pardon my French, but if you're a jerk, well,
You could say asshole if you want.
okay, I'm allowed to say,
You can
if you're
swear like a
man,
motherfucker on this show if you like.
oh, really? Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
if you're an asshole, like
yeah,
it's, you'll hear it in the music, you know. It's,
yeah.
and it won't. I don't think it touches people's hearts, you know.
No, I don't think so, man. I think it's gonna be tough. Maybe once, but not for a career.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
What what was growing up like for you? Because when you were splitting between both places, how was your childhood?
Oh man, um, probably a combination of chaotic and um, really magical, like in a lot of ways too. You know, it was a lot of, I think, you know, like, and like any kid going through the process of you know, their parents divorcing,
Right.
and that sort of like has a lot of um, there's a lot of turmoil involved, and
Sure.
emotional turmoil involved with that. Um, but you know, I had there's a lot of like magic in my childhood too. You know, of you know, spending time out with animals on a farm, and um, swimming in, you know, ponds in Mississippi, uh, and just, you know, falling in love with the guitar and playing music was a real magical thing for me.
That's cool, man. Yeah, it's always, I think, stressful when someone goes, when you're a kid. Do you have brothers and sisters?
I've got two brothers and an older sister.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. So you're the youngest. Oh, you're
yeah.
in, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I have a half sister who's 15 years older than me, and I'm the middle between two brothers.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's always probably tough for I've been with my wife 27 years, but my sons, who she's raised, she's basically mom. Um, Same thing. I split from their mom, but we were local and I saw the chaos. So I'm sure if you're, you know, going through two separate parts of the country, it's exacerbated a little bit. So I totally get that, man.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it's like, I think it, I think in some of those things make you stronger in a lot of ways too.
When you have to cope with more, you get more coping skills. That's just the bottom line. You may not be like the way you got them, and there's probably some fallout. But let me just tell you, there's going to be fallout from life anyway.
Yeah,
It's just your fallout. It would have been something else.
yeah,
You know, nobody gets by unscathed. I don't think there's a,
yeah.
you know,
And you know, and it comes through like all my favorite music. Like there's you know, was born out of pain, you
of
know,
course. Yeah.
and suffering, that, and that it's, I don't know, there's something
Cathartic, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always, like, you know, playing the guitar and music has always been like a very cathartic.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing.
It's almost like when you play to like soothe your own soul, it's undoubtedly going to soothe the listener, you know.
There's very few things you do like the guitar, and I don't play professionally. I'm a home guy, right?
Yeah,
I've never picked up my guitar and played for an hour and felt worse.
yeah,
In fact, sometimes I don't like playing at night because I feel so much better and so much energy. Even if I'm practicing from 9 to 10 or 10 to 11, I'm like, now I'm ready to rock and roll. And like, that's, you know, I got to go to bed. Right.
yeah.
But so, yeah, the guitar is a very good healer, man.
And man, I've been really curious recently about like just the whole way the whole nervous system works and like responds to um, certain frequencies and vibrations, and like, you know, I think that you know, using sound um, as a healing tool is also like a world that I'm becoming more and more fascinated by, and want to incorporate more into my approach to producing music. And like there are definitely like certain frequencies that are like healing to your whole biological nervous system, and yeah, it's I've been curious about like how to incorporate some of that knowledge into, the mainstream music world.
I've talked to a number of guys that either have friends or themselves are studying music therapy or music as a therapy. So everything you're saying is right on point. This is becoming a lot more well known over time.
Yeah, and especially for me, I participated in an ayahuasca ceremony fairly recently.
Oh, I've talked to guys about that. Okay, where did you do that?
I did it in it was just a little remote location in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and that definitely opened a doorway into the healing possibilities of that music really has.
That's cool, man. Listen to an interview I did with a guy named Yogi Lonich, like Yogi Bear, Lonich, Lonich. He talked a lot about. He's had a bunch of different experiences like that.
Yeah, and those they're called akaros. These ancient melodies that are associated with the ceremony are really guiding the whole experience, I had realizations about how whether musicians today realize it or not, I think that we are like kind of an archetypal shaman of the modern day. The way that like songs help people guide internally, like move through their own emotions and past experiences, and like that's a really beautiful gift to.
Yeah, hell yeah. I think any creative people are in a position to do that if that's what they want to put out. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Hey, let's switch gears for just a few minutes and talk about, crazy enough, guitars. What are you playing? Like, what's your number one guitar, and maybe what are your top 3 guitars that you like playing?
Oh man. Recently, man, I got a hold of this. Are you familiar with Jeff Sin? He's a guitar builder in Nashville, and
Sin, S-I-N?
S-E-N-N.
No, I don't know him.
Yeah. I bought this old Silvertone guitar from Jeff that, like,
the harmonies, those are so good, man.
Yeah, it's like from 1957, and he installed a bridge pickup on it. I guess it's called like a U2 Silvertone. It's like made out of like masonite, and
I haven't seen it. Do you have that handy?
What's that?
Do you have that handy? Is that with you in the house there?
I think it might be out in the studio.
Oh, no worries.
But yeah, man, that guitar has been like a musical revelation. I've got a 1965 SG that is it's been a lot of fun to play too.
So are you like a vintage guy?
Yeah, I love the way like old wood resonates. There's I don't know. I've definitely always been drawn to that sound.
Sorry, you said Silvertone before. I said harmony. I was thinking of a Stratotone. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are cool. Yeah. Um, yeah, I've got a handful of guitars I really love playing. I've
So
got
you
an
got
old,
the Jeff Sen, the SG. What else? What would be number three?
I've got a 1957 D18, Martin
Oh,
D18
wow.
that I've, it feels like you're strumming an old tree, which you kind of are, I guess.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah, and actually, um, when I graduated from high school, David Brownberg actually gifted me with his Martin signature model, which is a quadruple O signature series that plays beautifully.
That's really nice of him.
Yeah.
Did whatever happened to the 335 that you showed BB? Do you still have that?
I do still have it. Yeah, and I got his signature sort of, lacquered so it doesn't wear off. And
That's so funny. It was like, oh, I could see that almost being a little disappointing when you said I would never tell someone, just because like, oh man, you shouldn't have, don't tell me that. You told me to buy the guitar. Yeah.
man, there's something like when you meet your heroes. I'm almost like scared to meet my musical heroes,
Yeah.
because you have this relationship with them, like through their music, and sometimes it can be, you don't want to like mess that up,
Right. Well, there's an expression, be careful meeting, don't you be careful when with meeting your heroes or something like that. And, I've met through the show, a lot of my heroes, and most of the time it's gone really well, but some of the time it's like, because you have an expectation, which is totally unfair anyway, because it's based on something, but that's just the way we work, whether it's a business hero or a musical hero, you have a perception. And when that person maybe doesn't fit there, or you don't have the chemistry as humans that you do as with them as a guru or musician and you as a student listener. But so I understand that, man.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember I remember meeting one of my like all-time heroes in music is Ry Cooder.
Oh, sure.
And I met him after a show that he did with Ricky Skaggs and the Whites, and man, that was that was one of those moments for me where I just shook his hand and I said, it's an honor to meet you. I've learned so much from listening to your music, and he just like kind of stood up tall, and he's a lot taller than I thought he was. And
isn't that funny too, that you have a perception of like their height and what people look like?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird how that, and this happens, or even like, okay, so we're looking at each other, but it always happens when you have a relationship on the phone with somebody, you automatically get a vision. And I don't know about you, but mine has always been 100% wrong. Nothing like what I thought they looked like ever.
Yeah. Ever. The mind can be deceiving, can it?
I think the guy's tall, black curly hair, and he's, not tall, blonde hair or something, or just totally doesn't look anything like what I had in my mind.
Yeah. But because you interact with like their real humanness,
right?
Like in the real present moment, which is it's oftentimes different than what we kind of imagine.
Right. Like every time somebody meets me, they either say it if they're comfortable, or I could sense it, and then I say it, and it's like, yeah, I'm only 5'9", but everybody for some reason thinks I'm really tall. And the first, like, oh man, like I saw a couple of guys this week, and they were like, man, you're shorter than I thought, but you're really in good shape. Because you can't see, because I am in pretty good shape because I work out. But it's always really funny. My whole life, people have said, man, you're shorter than I thought.
Oh man, that's like I remember finding out that John Lee Hooker was only like 4'9" or something.
No, that's not possible. 4'9".
Yeah.
No, that's
Like John Lee, and you listen to his voice.
that's like a child, man. He can't be 4'9".
Yeah, and his voice. He sounds like he's like,
Yeah.
or something.
Right. That's wild. I've interviewed a couple of guys that play with John Lee Hooker. I'll ask
Really?
John Wiedemeyer out in Las Vegas play with him. Yeah, I'll ask John.
Oh, wow.
You write a note. Now you got me curious.
Man.
John Lee Hooker, how tall was he? I'll get back to you. I'll shoot you a text and let you know.
Yeah, I didn't measure him myself, but I remember reading somewhere that he's,
short. Really,
he's a short dude.
That's wild, man. Top desert island discs, man.
Whoa.
Top 3.
Whoa.
Just for now, because I could ask you that question in an hour. It'd be different.
Okay, if I was in this present moment right now on a desert island, I love, one of my favorite records that I always come back to is Wrecking Ball by Emmylou Harris.
Interesting.
Produced by Daniel Lanois. That record is really powerful. I'd say, man, one probably the Neville Brothers Keeper record. I would listen to that all the time as a kid, driving around in the car, and I'd say that would be one. Also, if I was on a desert island, I would want to, maybe have some music conducive for that sort of island vibe. So maybe
Jimmy Buffett.
I just speaking of Jimmy Buffett, he's going to be recording a song that I co-wrote with my friend Will Kimbrough.
Will's coming on my show like next week, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't wait. Dude, this is my week. I have 4 people this one week. I have Richard Lloyd. You probably don't know him, but he was a guitar player from the band called Television, lead guitars. Television was like the Talking Heads back in the 80s in New York City. Then I got Will. Then the next day I got Neil Giraldo from Pat Benatar. And they're married, but he played guitar for her for 40 years. And then the next day after that, I have Vinny Appice, who's the drummer from Black Sabbath when Ronnie James Dio was in the band. So I got
cool.
I'm looking forward to Will. Yeah,
man, Will's a kindred spirit. I've learned a lot from
cool.
Will. Yeah,
that's cool. So you and him co-wrote a song, and
and
who's recording? And Jimmy Buffett's recording it.
Buffett's going to be, it's a song called Slow Lane that Jimmy's going to be putting on his new record.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
To get Jimmy Buffett on here, man.
Super honored. And, I used to play with an artist that Jimmy sort of discovered, this guy named Elo. I used to play guitar with him. But I guess, man, I didn't give you a third record. Desert Island record.
That's right. We got Wrecking Ball, Neville Brothers.
Maybe something like maybe Abbey Road, man. Abbey Road, the Beatles. That album is just like a masterpiece.
Yeah, it is a great record. Johnny, most important things that you have learned about yourself.
Whoa.
Yeah, now we get serious, dude.
No, I love it, man. I love going there. Most important things about myself that I've learned about myself. I'm really learning to trust myself more, trusting my own intuition, and one thing I would say that when I'm making decisions that are coming from my heart, they usually tend to be right.
That's cool, man. They do tend to be right.
And I think, yeah. And, yeah, that feels like a constant.
Yeah, man, they have to be right because they're coming from your heart. And if you think about it in a way, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Like, how can they be wrong? I mean, the outcome might not be what you want, but doesn't mean the decision's wrong.
yeah. And I can see like times in life where I've made decisions, you know, that weren't in line with who I am, you know, and yeah. And because, you know, the whole mind body,
Karma, man.
oh, that's
Yeah.
that's a deep subject right there.
Yeah, man. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is another tough question. What do you like most about yourself?
Man, that is a tough question because I one thing that I really value about myself um, is is my path to is my path to be true to what feels right, you know, above, you know, the other narratives about, you know, what maybe I should be doing, or maybe what I really value my sort of inner compass, you know.
That's great, man. And you're a young guy. And if you value that now, that's only going to get sharper and sharper and sharper as you go over time, I think.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, man. Definitely. That's great. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
How about the flip side? If there's one thing you might want to change about yourself, what would that be?
I think, you know, I think as I think a lot of creative people probably deal with this is a tendency to overthink, you know, overthink, you know, get lost in what may or may not happen, you know. And like I have a mantra that I've been trying to incorporate into my life, which is worrying is a misuse of the imagination.
Worrying is a waste of your energy, bro. I can tell you right now.
Yeah. And you know, I feel like, you know, directing those energies into more more fruitful, creative areas is a constant constant battle, you know. And I think that, you know, overthinking and is definitely, or getting lost in you know, narratives that aren't really serving, you know, that's something that I'm constantly, you know, having to work on.
Good, man.
Yeah.
Something or someone you miss from your childhood?
Oh man, I used to have this a border collie dog.
Oh man,
And that dog, I love that dog so much.
it's terrible losing a pet, man.
Yeah, I've man, that's you know, that I'd probably say that, yeah, homes. That's I think about, it's crazy, man. You know, you know, you connect with animals when you're a kid, and that stays with you. You know.
Oh, even when you're an adult, man, trust me. I had in the last 2-3 years, we had to put down several animals, 2 dogs and a cat. And I remember it was really, we had this one cat. She was just amazing, man. We got her. She was a stray. She was all, withered, and she turned out to be the sweetest thing. And when we had to put her down, man, I went in there, and I had just come from the gym, and we had to put her down. So I'm all like sort of jacked up in there, and I go in there, and I was bawling in there for about an hour, and the women said to my wife, "Is he all right?" And I don't know, there was just something about that cat that was just so amazing. We really had a good, so I mean, it's just awful. That's one of the worst things to do, man. So put down an animal, man. And I was like that with my dog, all my animals, but this one in particular, I don't know what it was. I just, she was such a survivor because she was homeless, and so I really admired her.
Yeah.
Sort of, that was really cool.
How old were you?
This was 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. Yeah, I was a mess. I couldn't believe it. I was just a mess for several days, and I am an emotional guy, but something about her, losing her, she was just so, she was very strong for her, it was like losing a strong relative, maybe.
Yeah.
And she was really a strong, she was a rock, and she'd walk around the neighborhood and didn't think anything of it, and then come back all the time. She was just great, very loving, affectionate. She'd cuddle up with you in bed, just everything you'd want in a little furry cat, So
what was her name?
Boots.
Boots.
Yeah, I named her because we found her, and she had, the white paws.
Yeah.
So I just said, let's call her Boots, sounds like, so, but she's great. And now we have all these, animals that have passed, and they're all up in, for some reason, you get the, what is it called when you put their ashes in a
cremation?
Yeah. And so I have all these and I'm like telling my wife, I got all these cremated animals up in my closet. What am I going to do with that? They're all stacking up as we're getting older and older. We're losing out. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh, man.
Most important thing your dad taught you?
Yeah, I think working with my hands. My dad taught my brothers and I had a lot of good skills. Like we would sort of be like little carpenters. We'd help my dad build a house and just do like manual labor in Mississippi, and I feel like I really learned the value of like sweating, for and putting in like physical work into what you believe in and what you care about.
Yeah, because that transfers into pride of ownership in what you do in other things as well.
Yeah, I built a recording studio in my backyard.
Did you?
With a friend, and like all these skills that using a saw and like all these carpentry skills just like came back to me throughout that process, and I just really I put my own sweat into the making of my recording studio, and that's
awesome.
Something really special about that, that where you feel it's like there's more, like you said, like more, there's another level of value.
Oh, hell yeah. Did you happen to paint that picture behind you?
Oh, my wife's mom painted that.
I knew somebody painted that, and I knew it was somebody that don't ask me how. I just got that vibe.
Whoa.
Yeah, I just had that feeling. It looks like it was hand painted. It looks like it was really not. It's very nice. It looks like it's really. Yeah. I don't know. I just got that vibe. I thought it might have been you.
Yeah, both my wife's mom is a painter, and my mom's actually a painter too.
Oh, that's cool. What does your wife do?
She's a second-year resident in radiology at
Holy crap. Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, she's a brilliant woman. Yeah.
That's great, man. Man, it was funny because I was in town last week and I said, I'm going to do things that I don't normally do. I'm sort of in that mode now in general. And so, I just went for, I was in NAM,
Yeah.
whatever. And then the next day I didn't have to go all day. I just wanted to go back and see some people. I said, man, let me get up and go for a walk. Now, most people are like, oh my God, it's so hot, but I'm in Florida. So it was hot, but my frame of reference was like, I felt the breeze actually. And it was hot, don't get me wrong, but it was nice. And man, and I just walked. I was on West End Avenue. You know what that is?
Oh yeah.
And I just walked west past Vanderbilt. Man, what a beautiful campus there, man.
Yeah.
Really pretty. And I saw the kids, I guess I don't know if the kids were going up to visit or the younger kids going to start. It was nice. I saw all the dads and moms with the young kids going in there. I called my daughter because I saw some young girls around her age. I said, hey, just thinking of you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it was just a nice walk going through that campus, man.
It's a beautiful campus, man.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I go to a church that's on the Vanderbilt campus. It's called St. Augustine's.
Is it a Methodist church by any chance?
Episcopalian.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny. My wife is from the UK, and she not religious at all, but she, I think, went to an Episcopalian church as
cool.
she was a kid. But I was walking down that West End. There was a really nice Methodist church there, and I saw this, and I actually took a picture of it. I'm not a religious person at all. I don't have a religious bone in my body. But there was a sign there, and it said, and not understanding and knowing, and so there's not a judgment, but the sign said, we accept all races, all sexual orientations, all ages, all genders, all demographics, basically. And I said, as a marketing guy, I run a marketing company for 21 years. And I said, man, I would have thought that was the differential, what they call it in marketing, what makes you different. That was this church's. And I would think, man, why wouldn't any church, why did, the fact that they're advertising that means that must not be the norm. And I just thought to myself, wow, why would, again, not knowing religion, and maybe this is why I'm kind of not into it, is
I think for good reason too. Like a lot of places don't have like that spirit of welcoming.
I mean, not only am I not an expert on this, I'm not even a novice on it, but I would have thought inherently, if somebody wants to go worship and feel that kinship, what would it matter, like what color or gender or sexual orientation? I don't understand any of that stuff. So, but it was very moving that I took a picture of it. And I'm not in the habit of, that church was just a nice, pretty church in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably know it. It was just right down there on West End on the, I guess if I'm going west, on the north side of the street.
Okay. I'm not sure what that is.
It was just before, where the Barnes and Noble is there on the south side of the street? It was just east of that on the north side of the street.
Okay. I know what you're talking about. I'm not sure.
Yeah. They're doing a bunch of construction on there, as you know.
Yeah.
Everything's getting demolished and re-put up. I couldn't believe it. I called my wife. I said, man, this is going to be like Manhattan I literally, I was amazed how much building's going on there.
Yeah, man. A lot of new infrastructures being put up. It's, it's kind of, I live over in East Nashville, and there's this whole corner, like not too far from me, that's being, like condos are being built up, and it's a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, like I can see how it's, it's such a double-edged sword, because the gentrification aspect of it is like I feel for like that side of things, how people have to move out, and it's kind of sad, and there's like a you can even see like recording studios being shut down, like, and like condos are being built, and it's, and there's like a soulfulness that I think gets lost.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's the same in New York City, man. That's 100%. I totally get it. John Shaw?
Yeah.
Yeah. He lives in East Nashville.
Oh man. I used to, I played with John Shaw on,
he's a great player.
On a Ashley Monroe live album.
Yeah. I saw him this weekend too. It was cool.
Oh,
he's
cool.
a good guy. Yeah. You see him
such a good guy.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
He's from that whole,
he's from
Muscle Shoals, like Florence,
he's from Alabama. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. You see him, tell him you're on the show, because you guys you'll have a good chuckle. I just saw him this week, and it's always good.
He's still out with Josh Turner.
Yeah, he sure is. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Most important thing your mom taught you?
Ooh, I have a tattoo. I'm gonna see if I can.
I saw that a little. What is that? What did that say?
It's
music is power. Music is prayer.
Music is prayer.
Is that your mom's writing?
No, but it's something that my mom she said to me on a hike. My mom lives in Asheville, North Carolina, and
it's pretty there.
And she was an Episcopalian minister, and we have a lot of conversations about like the spiritual aspects of music and how and I just remember I was hiking with her, and she just said, well, music is prayer. And it hit my heart so much. I just thought, I got it.
That's a cool tattoo. Yeah, man. Well, that's a really meaningful thing too, because you always think not only does it mean a lot, but because it came from your mom, it's like there's this big connection there, man.
Yeah, and when I'm playing guitar, I can look down and see it as like a reminder.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's nice.
Yeah.
My daughter did something like that. My wife and her always have this thing, I love you and I love you more. So one day my wife wrote that out, I love you more. And my daughter took that and with her writing and had it put on her somewhere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool. Yeah,
that's beautiful. That's very beautiful.
Any non-musical superpowers, Johnny?
Non-musical superpowers. Well, I'm a mind reader, so.
Are you really?
No. Well, everyone is to an extent, but, oh, geez. Non-musical superpowers. I run a lot.
Cool.
I've ran a couple of marathons, and
wow. That's really a test of endurance, man. That's
I think the I wouldn't say it's a superpower, but like I definitely am passionate about running, and man, I would always I feel like running is like saved my life in many ways on tour. I would just, I think maybe it was Willie Nelson who said no matter where you are, just like you can always just go for a run, and like all you need is your running shoes, and I would become being on the road, I would become like pretty almost religious about running before a show, and just for the mental health aspects.
Oh, yeah, man. Physical exercise, let me tell you, man, that's the best thing you can have. And as you get older, if you keep doing it, you're going to see a dramatic difference in your quality of life and in your energy level, and even in your appearance between you and your peers that have not done that. I mean, it's going to really be a wide gap.
Oh man.
Unfortunately for them.
I have no doubt. And and I've been exploring other, I've been getting deeper into yoga and meditation, and
good.
And, I'm really fascinated with the whole mind body connection. And yeah, that's a big part of my life too.
Good, man. How did you, what marathons did you run?
I ran the Nashville, rock and roll marathon 2 times.
Oh, that's really cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, man, it's pretty challenging too.
Especially there, man, there's nothing but hills.
There's so many hills. Yeah.
Yeah, I was up there just walking. I was like, holy shit, man. Because in Florida, everything's completely flat, Oh,
yeah.
And I was just going up and down hills and I was enjoying it. I said, man, this is pretty decent. Just to go for a walk. You walk in Florida, it's not a big deal. But here, it's like you're getting some cardio because you're walking all these hills, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, man, it's not for the faint of heart.
No, man. No, but keep that up. That'll really help you out, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I'd say, yoga and meditation and it's, I don't know if I'd call it a hobby. It's kind of like a, very much a part of my life and supports the music, I'd say that's
yeah.
You could call it a hobby, yeah. And camping too. I mean,
that's right, man.
Yeah. Camping, being out in nature and feeding the soul in that way is
that's cool.
Definitely big for me.
Two more questions, Johnny. Toughest decision you've had to make or most difficult thing you've had to do?
Can we come back to that?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, man. One more question left. Biggest change in your personality over the last, I couldn't ask you 10 years, you're too young, but let's say over the last 5 years, and how much of this change has been intentional and how much is just a part of aging?
Biggest change in my personality. I really feel like we, our personalities are always in a constant state of change. And, but we have this, I like to differentiate, between our essence and our personality. I think like a personality is like a shirt, that's you wear a different shirt, like depending on the environment,
Yeah.
Like if you're in Hawaii, you'd wear like a flowery shirt. And maybe if you're in Canada in the wintertime, you'd wear some warmer clothes. And, I know that my personality is always adapting to environments, but I think we carry with us and what you could call like an essence that's this in many ways like the same as when we were kids, like I feel like I have the same love of playing the guitar that I had when I was a kid, and that's like that sort of thing stays alive.
It's really interesting what you just said.
It's really I read I got really into reading this a book called In Search of the Miraculous by P.D. Ouspensky, all about like this Russian mystic guy named Gurdjieff. And
oh man, I know who that guy is because
you do.
Only one reason. That guy I told you about, Richard Lloyd from the band Television, is coming on the show. He wrote an autobiography, and a good chunk of the last part of his autobiography, he's studied everything. any kind of self-development stuff. And a good part of that is has to do with a wish.
Mm.
A good part of it has to do with his interpretation of the study of Gurdjieff.
Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't understand any of it. I got to be honest with you.
Man, it's deep stuff. It's,
yeah. Yeah.
He would talk about the fourth way is like, his whole school of inner development and I was really moved by that, and recognizing the difference between personality and essence is I feel like I really learned a lot from that.
Interesting. I had never heard of that. It's an interesting concept about essence versus personality. I have to think.
Yeah, Gurdjieff would say that we mix the two up, and we can get lost in personalities and forget our essence, and I think that's one thing that doing what we love like keeps us connected to our essence,
I would say,
like,
as long as you've loved that essence a long time, as long as you've loved that thing for a long time, and it's actually part of your essence.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. I have to think on that a little bit.
Yeah.
You want to go back to the other question? Toughest decision you had to make, or most difficult thing you had to do?
Yeah. I think I'm ready for that question now. My decision to leave the Little Big Town gig was probably one of the tougher decisions I ever made. And
what made you do that? I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you that, but I never like to ask questions that you think I'm looking for. Somebody might think I'm looking for gossip, or, because I'm not. I was curious about that though. So I'm really glad you brought it up.
Oh yeah. No, I'd love to share. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier in, listening to your own, intuition, and I'd felt like I'd really really bonded and grew with the organization, and I was really proud of the music that we made, but I felt like I had learned what I needed to learn from that experience, and that I there were new doors that I needed to open, within myself and other experiences. And I really struggled with the high volume of the commercial aspects of music. I found that increasingly it was harder for me to express myself in a truthful way,
playing that particular music.
Yeah. Like it was kind of like I felt like I needed to, it was almost like I needed to pass it along to someone else who would serve that the music in the direction that it was headed,
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like my things that were speaking to me more were coming from other areas, and it opened doors. Like I went on the road with Chapin Carpenter, and which is a completely different way of approaching music, you know, and there's, you know, there's no like big smoke machines and, you know, movie screens. And I felt more drawn to like the nuances of like, of music in other ways. And, but yeah, that decision was really difficult. Sorry, I think you were going to say something.
No, I was a couple of things. First of all, thank you for sharing that, and I respect your decision. Two questions. One about Mary Chapin. Was Duke Levine still on that gig?
Oh man, no, but he set in with us. We played a show up outside of Boston, and he set in, and it was, you know, I used to go watch Duke Levine when I lived in Boston, and you know,
great guy, man. Incredible player, but just a wonderful human being, man.
Oh man, he's such a gem. And talk about he's been a big influence on me as a player too.
That's cool to hear. The other thing I was going to say is, do you think then that, did you just need a break, or do you think as a sideman you just need to, before you really need to be aligned with like, can you be just a sideman, or do you need to really evaluate each opportunity to see, hey, is this going to be congruent with me? Because as a sideman, right, if you're a career sideman, your approach is like, I'm not going into this to express, you know, I don't care. You know, it's almost like you're a gun for hire. You know, they need a G chord on a telly, and I'm going to give them the best damn G chord on it, you know, or something like, and even if I hate playing G chords, that's sideman. It's not an easy business.
Yeah. You know, and that's a craft. Like I really respect people that can, that are like very much like chameleons, and that can just fall into any musical environment and just kind of serve in that way. And you know, I think for a period of time I was working in that direction, but you know, I like increasingly more and more I found that I've that, you know, and also as I explored my own artistry, as my own songwriting, I felt new doors opening up in of expression that couldn't fit into certain musical environments, you know. Sure. Like, and but that's, you know, that's a constant ongoing conversation that I have with myself of like, you know, what. Sure. Because you want your spirit and soul to really come through the music, and it's some music. I know that I can't. It can be more difficult for that to happen. You know.
Well, writing songs with Will Kimbrough ain't a bad side gig either. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, man. Will, I mean, talk about just a well of musical spirit, man. Will he's incredible.
Yeah. Hasn't he won like Song of the Year several times?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, he has. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Well, Johnny, I appreciate everything. Let me tell people where they could find you. Thank you so much for your time, man. Thank you so much for having me, Craig. Yeah, you're welcome, man. It's my pleasure. Thanks for being so honest and candid on everything. Check out Johnny's solo record. It's called Reimagine, and it's on his, what's your website? I'm sorry, is it Johnny Duke Guitar?
Johnny Duke Music.
JohnnyDukeMusic.com.
Yeah.
Check that out. Yeah, I was going to say, man, it'd be impossible to get Johnny Duke.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of other Johnny Dukes floating out there.
There is. It's got to be, man. So check out JohnnyDukeMusic.com to listen to Johnny's album Reimagine. And also, if you're interested in working with Johnny on tracks, hit him up at jdukeguitar@gmail.com. He's got a badass studio out in the back that he put together himself that we just learned. Yeah. And he will do you justice. That's it, man. Any final words of wisdom?
Man, I think, going back to Joseph Campbell, just, follow your bliss and doors will open.
I like that, man. Thank you for everything. I appreciate it. Everybody, you're welcome. That's my pleasure. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share this on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Don't forget, you can check this out on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and listen to the podcast. Thanks to Johnny Duke for coming on the show. Please support what Johnny's doing. Listen to his album, Reimagine, and you can hit him up on johnnydukemusic.com. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Until next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. Thank you, Johnny.
Thanks, Craig.